Hello everybody, I'm gonna talk here about this Australian Open vaccination rule, mandatory vaccination rule for participation of the players, and what the Australian Open and Craig Tiley, Tennis Australia, is doing, and their whole system. It was really quite horrible, to be honest. Well, they said 2 weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, that they are not going to find or look for any loopholes to exonerate, to permit players to attend Australian Open without being vaccinated. They will not look for, that they will not find loopholes for exemption for Djokovic, to be more precise, because he never revealed his vaccination status, so he can attend Australian Open maybe potentially if he's not vaccinated. So what Tennis Australia and Craig Tiley are telling us just these days on about the I think it was the 19th to 20th of December or something, they released their statements, and they're saying this. They confirmed, Australian Open officials confirmed that any individuals who successfully obtained a medical exemption, a process they stressed was overseen by Border Force with a review mechanism established by the Victorian government, would not need to complete a period of quarantine once they arrived. So, a few days back they told us that there will be an exemption process in Australia, and that there will be a panel of 3 medical experts. In the first phase, they will examine the player's condition or something to maybe give him the exemption, so he may live without doing the vaccine, so he may activate in their territory without having the vax. And after that, there will be another panel of 3 more experts appointed specially by the government to also analyze the player's situation and see if he is eligible for an exemption from this vax. And now the problem is, Craig Tiley, they said they will not find or look for loopholes to get exemption for players so that Djokovic could get into Australian Open without getting his vaccine done. As they stated before, that is going to be absolutely mandatory for all players that want to join and be in the Australian Open and play the Australian Open, be there in the first place and then play, of course. So now they're saying that there's a possibility, but this whole process of exemption will be totally confidential. So this is a big one, guys. How do you mean confidential? Why don't you tell us? If there is a simple rule that the official government and healthcare body of Australia has some rules. Of course, it all starts based on the fact that they want everybody to be vaccinated, almost absolutely forced, even though they're not stating that it's absolutely forced, but you're not allowed to work, to go there, to go be with your family and stuff like that. So everything is based on this, guys, that is absolutely unacceptable, abnormal, abusive, against the human rights. You cannot impose a medical treatment, a medical act on a human being. You cannot. I decide what to put in my body if I want. This should be the real thing, but we see around the globe that this is not the reality. They are trying to do things, abnormal things, horrible things to human beings. So moving on, it's all based on this. So they have some rules about exemptions, about people who they will permit them to not be vaccinated if they have certain diseases, problems, medical problems and stuff like that. So why can't there be just that simple? If you want, they should be transparent, right? So tell us, Djokovic came in our tournament. Oh, I'll get back to this immediately. I'm just gonna point here out exactly what they say. The Tennis Australia chief, the chief of practically the organizers of Australian Open that are abiding to the state's mandatory things. The process of coming in is a 72-hour test before you get in, taken before flying, a negative test when you arrive. So players have to do a test 3 days before they arrive in Australia. Of course, it has to be negative. When they arrive in Australia, they have to do another test. Isolate until you get a negative result. But he just said a negative test when you arrive. So the adding of isolate until you get a negative result, they already mentioned negative test when you arrive. So it's negative, isn't it? Anyway, moving on. You have to show proof of that negative test to get your accreditation. They just said a negative test. We understand. Negative test is a negative. You go on. But why the hell do you have to make it so complicated? Proof of that negative test to get your accreditation, and then there's a whole bunch of protocol to coach the players on what they need to be doing. They're very well versed in doing this around the world. Tiley said. Tiley is the head of Tennis Australia, as you probably know. All the players are staying in the same accommodation. We have a minimized risk environment at the Crown, and they'll be staying there as a group. They will be testing on site. We'll be managing their movement. So they'll be testing on site. So one test 3 days before, one test when you arrive, and another more tests every day. I don't know, maybe 2 times a day. Who knows what these guys are willing to do. Number on Djokovic, who will be gunning a 10th Australian Open title, has repeatedly refused to disclose. Refused is a somewhat tendentious word, because it addresses, it implies that it was something that you have to do and you refused it. You don't have to do anything. You shouldn't feel like you have to do something, especially a medical act. Anyway, moving on. Tiley said no players had yet advised him that they had received a medical exemption. Players and their support staff are not obligated to disclose theirs. This is another thing that I really want to stress about, guys. Check this out and pay attention, be really attentive to this. Players and their support staff are not obligated to disclose their status to Tennis Australia, which is removed from the screening process established on ATAGI, Australian Technical Advisory Group on Immunization. So, a government body, healthcare body about immunization guidelines. So, Tennis Australia tells us that everything will be confidential. They won't have to disclose their status to Tennis Australia. They will just go through this process examined put in place by this organization, right? This government health organization about specializing in immunizations. But the thing is that there is nothing confidential about a human being's citizen in Australia about their vaccination status. There is no there's no privacy in that, because they mandate it. So if you mandate this, it means that everybody will know that if you enter a mall, for example, you won't be able to enter if you're not vaccinated. That's their dictatorial rule. So everybody will know. If I'm staying outside this mall and I'm seeing you entering, I know that you're vaccinated. And of course, all the other places, almost everywhere, this is mandatory. So everybody will know if they see somebody else walking into some place that this guy is vaccinated. Or maybe, of course, maybe they got an exemption. So trying to be so righteous, to appear so fair, is actually really dirty, because this is not fair at all. In this case, of course, for Djokovic, in a way, yes, they are telling us that everything will be undisclosed, everything will be private, will be confidential. So only this governmental health body that specializes in immunization, with their panels of experts, medical experts and stuff, only they will know And the great thing is that everyone coming to Australia is, and then he says this, or maybe he said before. I know I'm reading these sites, this Australian site. The great thing is that everyone coming to Australia is vaccinated. But wait, what the fuck did we just talk about exemptions? So maybe there's a probability that not everybody is vaccinated, because some of them might get an exemption, as they told us, right? So what the fuck is this? Everyone coming to Australia? Maybe not. So everyone who is coming in is vaccinated, and there will be a small percentage. You can't say everyone will be this, but a very small percentage of them will be something else. That's just stupid, logically impossible. Everyone, if you say everyone is in a way, well, everyone is in a way. Anyway, moving over these logically stupid statements and things that we see all the time, especially throughout these 2 years about this whole pandemic. A very small percentage that will have there will be a small percentage, a very small percentage, that will have a medical exemption. So if any player, fan or workforce is on site here, you're either vaccinated or you have a medical exemption that's approved and you're on the Australian immunization register. Again, wrongly said here. So if any player, fan or workforce is on site, he shouldn't have said you, they are. So if any player, fan or workforce is on the site, they are either vaccinated, or you can put you after this. It's just stupid. Anyway, you're either vaccinated or you have a medical exemption that's approved and you're on the Australian immunization register. That provides us with safety and extra level of comfort on site. Again, another bullshit. What safety does that give you if it's already super demonstrated around the world that vaccinated human being doesn't mean absolutely 100%, doesn't mean that they're not infected, or they cannot take the infection. They cannot get infected. That doesn't mean they cannot get infected. A huge amount of people, vaccinated people in England, for example, just search the web, our world in data, and see how many in the governmental sites that tell us about the vaccination status of those infected. A huge percent of those infected are already vaccinated, fully vaccinated, double or triple dosed. So this provides a safety, an extra level of comfort. This is another statement on which this whole masquerade is based on. That if you do this, you're absolutely safe. And then, of course, everybody admits, on the planet, it's a fact, vaccinated people get sick, even die. Vaccinated people died from this coronavirus infection after they were double or even triple dosed vaccinated. So, to move on, they say if Novak shows up at the Australian Open, he'll either be vaccinated or he'll have a medical exemption. So we're not really that stupid. You just told us that any player, fan or workforce is on the site, they will be vaccinated or have a medical exemption. So of course Novak Djokovic would be in that category, one of those categories, because he's a player, of course. So you shouldn't have added this because it's redundant. We already understood any player that if it's there, he will be vaccinated or exemption. So we understood that also Djokovic will be, of course, vaccinated or receive an exemption. Anyway, redundant. And then he says this. Craig Tiley, the head of Tennis Australia, it's his choice on his medical condition. It's his choice to keep personal and private, like all of us would do with any condition we may or may not have. Now this is absolutely bullshit, as I said before, especially talking about Australians and Victorians specifically more, because in Victoria there are way extreme mandates on vaccination. So for a citizen in Victoria to be able to live, to work, to go to shops, to go to malls, etc. They do not have privacy on their medical condition or medical registry, medical history. Everything is on the open because I see them entering. You force me, you ask me to present that certificate. So it's not private anymore. You're asking for it. So nobody has the confidential or privacy. That's how it should be. You shouldn't be mandating things. You should present the vaccine. You should promote the vaccine as being good. People who could take it if they want, and that's it. So this is a lie up front. They're just lying and bullshitting us in the face. How can this be, guys? Chief of Tennis Australia says it's his choice, it's Djokovic's choice on his medical condition. It's his choice to keep personal and private like all of us. No, all of us, all of you, all of Victorian people do not have this luxury. They all have to present something to demonstrate, to show that they are vaccinated, or else they cannot live, they cannot enter there, they cannot work. We're not going to force him or ask him to disclose that. Now, how the fuck is that? How the fuck are you imposing this to everybody in Victoria, but not to Novak Djokovic, who's a tennis player coming to Australia? Now, guys, listen to me, understand this. I'm not saying that that is normal, that they should just apply the same rules, the same absolutely extreme mandate and forcing disclosure on Djokovic, because that is not normal. But you can't just tell us that you're gonna do something else for Djokovic and everything will be okay. People and also other players who might have took the jab just to be able to come and play in this tournament because they heard you told them that this will be absolutely mandatory, that no player will be able to attend to play in the Australian Open if they're not vaccinated. So you told them they absolutely have to be vaxxed. So they took this jab because some of them, I'm pretty sure they took the jab just because they wanted to be able to come and play Australian Open and other tournaments in Australia. So doing this, finding this loophole, telling us that there is an exemption process from taking the vaccine, but everything about it will be confidential and nobody will know whether an ex-player, Djokovic in this example, if you accept him and we will see him playing in the Australian Open, we will not know what the hell was going on. If he was vaccinated, okay, like everyone else, but if you gave him an exemption, why don't just tell us? So he has that condition or that condition, that disease, and that's why you granted him an exemption. Why can this be transparent? Of course, I'm saying absolutely yes, this was the loophole, guys, that everybody was talking about 2-3 weeks ago, that they said it will not be the case. They denied everything about loopholes, that everyone will be vaccinated, will have to be vaccinated in order to get there. And this is about Djokovic, about Novak Djokovic, one of the greatest players of tennis, and they absolutely want him there. He has a huge amount of fans, huge amount of following him in this tournament. On the televised matches with him brings a lot of money, popularity, and so on. Contracts. It's about contracts, guys. They want him there. Although, about the fans, there is something here because everybody is watching this, and already people in Australia have expressed their concern and their revolt, them being absolutely not okay with Djokovic getting exemption from taking this vaccine, because all of them were forced to take this, to do this in order to live. So of course they cannot just accept the idea that one tennis player is accepted there to play after all these things that the government has told them, that if you not take this, you're gonna die because of this disease, because of this new virus. They told them that you cannot live without taking this, because this is life. So of course they're thinking, everybody's thinking, well, how come you're letting him here? If you told us that we absolutely have to do this, you mandated this to us. And just now, just one tennis player can come here and not have it? Maybe? What do we know? How do we know that the exemption you gave him was fair, according to the rules that you gave to us? How do we know? We have a COVID safe plan that's been approved by the government. That's what this guy is telling us. You have zero expectation from the information that we've received from the government that there's going to be a cap on crowds. Big deal, yeah. They keep wanna tell us that everything is so good, but something's off here, guys. I'm sure many Australians and Victorians see this and are frustrated and revolted about this. It's gold standard. We will manage the crowd accordingly. It's going to be a safe place to be. What the fuck are they keep telling us about safe? The hotel where all the players will be, it will be a safe. And what the fuck is wrong with you guys? Do you really think that the virus is out there everywhere all the time waiting for you? If you just go outside the building, you're gonna get it, you're gonna die? Haven't you seen the facts, the reality? 99% of people get through this without big problems. Survive this. What the hell is wrong with you? About 60-70% no problems at all, and 98% survive this. You already have high rate of vaccination. You don't have cases. You have extremely few cases of infected people. So what's the problem? After 2 years, just let the people live. If there's a position where we've got to limit the numbers, we'll manage that accordingly. But yet he adds this, so everything's fine, everything's gold, everything's peachy, but still there's a position where we've got to limit the numbers, we'll manage that. So what the fuck are you telling us? Are you gonna let us be or not? They wanna cover their asses. Anyway, they haven't done this. They haven't covered their asses. A lot of people know, a lot of people see. They're just coerced. The good thing is there won't be any zones. You're going to be able to move across the entire precinct. Wow, what a privilege. We thank you. Oh, masters. Master, thank you, master, yeah. This is what this has come to. They are our masters and we are the servants. Yeah. This was the bullshit, guys. Tiley reiterated that the lure of Djokovic to come to Australia was strong and Australia's entry conditions were likely to be similar at future tennis events across the globe. How the hell does he know that across the globe the same conditions will be applied? It makes me fucking sick. Novak wants to play the Australian Open, Tiley said, yeah. We don't talk much about the specifics of where he's at. Medically, he doesn't talk to anyone about it. I'm not going to question it either. Yeah, of course. He's Djokovic. You're not going to question anything. Everything's going to be confidential. You're going to let him in, and nobody's going to know what his status is. How do you let him in? Doesn't that make me skeptical about this? Shouldn't this make me think that you might just let him in? Of course, guys, I'm telling you again, this is how it should be. Things should be like this. You should just let them in. Maybe with the test when they get in the country, of course. You can do that. But other than that, the mandates, the warnings, the pre-warnings, you will not be able to. If only you should only do that, do that, do that. Come on, come on. This is crazy. This should be the case. But if you implied these whole rules to everybody, and you actually made them take that, even though some of them might not have wanted to do it, just because they wanted to play in this big tournament that will bring them a lot of players, a really good amount of money. You made them commit this act because you forced them. You told them that they will not be allowed to, and now you're just on the last minute you're creating this loophole for Djokovic, where everything will be confidential and nobody will know anything. Now I think this is bullshit, guys. This is shit. Tell me what you think. Tell me what you think about this. Of course, his father told us about some weeks ago. Novak Djokovic's father told us that these whole rules seem like blackmail, and under these conditions he wouldn't go. He doesn't know if his son, if Novak, will accept these conditions, but he said, I will definitely not accept this, and he's my son, and you think for yourself. And then of course they will just, I'm sure that they will just get this exemption. Novak Djokovic will get this exemption. They will let him play. They could even tell us that Djokovic's doctors, or Djokovic himself, or anyway, he or his staff, his medical staff, convinced them, presented them some medical documents that show that he had some medical problems that could get him this exemption from taking the vaccine, and that's why they let him in. And this will be the case, guys. The whole fuss, the whole thing, this is how it went. This is what's happening here in Australia. Yeah. Okay, guys, I'm gonna leave you now. Leave me your comments below. Cheers.